Hi everybody, I hope you're doing well. Here's Melly from the ADHD Melly Show. So I hope you're doing well today. Today we're going to talk with Sofia Lorena. She's going to talk about how life can give you wake up calls and make you think a little bit about how you're going to live your life. And that's what we are going to talk today. Like you always know, you can go to my website, theadhdmelishshow.com, if you want to contribute by being a sponsor, simply donate, or simply, looking what I'm doing. You're going to see the podcast, and if you want to contact me and stuff like that, you're going to see the good thing here on the ADHDmelishshow.com. So if you want to follow our social, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we are on LinkedIn, we are mainly everywhere, okay? So I'm going to invite Sophia there. Please, everybody, clap Sophia while she's coming in. Yay!
Hi.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing so good. How are you?
I'm fine. So sorry, everybody. I forgot to say that we were a little bit late. We got a little bit of technical difficulty, which is okay because now it's working. I can hear Sophia right now. It's perfect. So please just talk to me a little bit more about you.
Mhm. Okay, perfect. So I am a 20-year-old from California. Last year, I started my podcast called The Shit Show of My 20s, and I started it because I was experiencing my own series of shit show moments back to back to back, all within a span of about 6 months. And while I was going through these series of shit show moments, I realized I feel like a lot of other 20-year-olds are going through this at the same time. So I decided to start the podcast, and I really wanted to create a community where we can go through these moments together. We can go through these growth opportunities, and we can talk about not just like the great stuff and the stuff that we're doing well at, but also talk about the stuff that we're struggling with. So I created that. I've interviewed over 140 people since last year, and it's been absolutely incredible. And I love doing that
Congratulations.
so much. Thank you. Yeah, so that's been incredible. I am from California. I live in LA, and I bounce around from LA to Colorado. It's pretty fun. And I am also a loan officer as well. And yeah, I'm really passionate about sharing this message of personal growth in your 20s. And my personal development journey has taken me to a lot of really cool places and given me a lot of wake up calls that weren't so easy. So yeah, so I love talking about it, and I love getting to like talk with people like you and being able to like share our stories and connect in that way.
And even if I'm not in my 20s for like a while now, I'm 32, I can. It's not only for the 20 something, Sometimes it takes a little bit more time to just have your wake up call. Sometimes you have all your 20s where you have a lot of shit shows and you don't really understand what's going on. And now at your 30s, you're like, okay, something needs to change. And even
Yeah.
if you're way younger than and I've listen to your podcast, I can relate a lot, and I think older people can relate too because we don't have the same story in life. Sometimes it takes more time to just understand what's going on. A little bit too long, I will say, but the most important is something moves one day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So can you tell me what was your first wake up call? I know that you got an accident. Do you want to talk about it? What
Yeah.
does it help you focus more about your life after that?
Yeah. So I went through the first one. It started off with a car accident, and I was driving home from work one day, and it was about like it was about 2, 3 hours to drive there and about 2, 3 hours to drive back. So it was quite a commute every
Yeah.
day going to work. And I was going back from work at one day, and it was at like 6 to 7 o'clock at night, and I was driving home, and I was only about 20 minutes away from my house. Like I was relatively close to my house. And of course it happens there. But I was driving, and there was like this it was 2 lanes, and I was in the left lane, and I was in a pretty obvious car. I was in a Suburban, so it's a pretty big car. It's kind of hard to miss. And I was in this car, and then there was this minivan next to me, And all of a sudden, I just hear like the screeching, clashing noise. And this minivan goes directly into the right side of my car, takes out the complete right side of my car, and then I black out for a minute. Come back, and I was like, oh my God, like what just happened? And somehow my car stopped. I still don't really know how my car stopped, but somehow it stopped. And I'm so glad that it did, because if it didn't stop, it would have probably gone into incoming traffic, and then I would have got hit straightforward, and then it probably wouldn't have ended up very well for me. But I got out of the car, I pulled the car to the side of the road, I get out, and of course my first reaction is to yell at this lady because I was pretty mad. I was like full of anger and rage, and I was so mad. And I look over at her, and then I sit on the net, and I like think to myself, like, okay, Sophia, do you really get anything out of yelling at her? Like, is it going to fix it? Is it going to fix the car? Is it going to take you guys back in time? Is it going to do anything? And I had this realization, even if I yell at her, even if I get mad, it's really not going to fix it. And it's really not going to take me back in time and reverse the car accident. So we have
And
to
maybe
deal with
she's so stressed about that the other person maybe too, and she's like in shock because she didn't see you or whatever, you know?
yeah. So I realized that. It took me a couple of minutes to realize that, but I kept it together. I didn't yell at her. I was fine. And then of course, like after the accident, I really didn't process it. So I was just kind of like going that I didn't really think about it. I didn't think about the problems I had afterwards of like feeling far and feeling like I'm going to get blindsided again. So I didn't really think about it. So then I had another wake up call moment, then two more. And so I had that. And then I got furloughed from the job that I was working at the time for about 3 months. And it was like kind of a gray line scenario. I might go back, I might not go back. So during those 3 to 4 months, it really gave me time to sit with it, to sit with the car accident, to sit with all of this. And it made me realize, oh my gosh, you're going to work every day, you're doing all these things, but you've never actually took some time to realize what you actually want. Like you're just running to work, running home, running to work, running home. And you never actually thought after this, like, what do you really want? Like, what more freedom do you want? I didn't think about any of that. And so then during that time that I was furloughed, that's when I started the podcast. And that's when that all started. And yeah, those like 3 to 4 months really gave me some clarity on like, what do I really want, and what have I been lacking in my life, and what have I been like throwing under the rug. And it was a really good time to reflect and look at everything.
And how mentally did you feel when you were no work, no nothing to do, and you were only by yourself thinking about your future? How did you feel mentally?
Not that great at first. First, it was kind of overwhelming, as you know, attach so much of our identity to our job. We attach, am I only valuable if I'm making money, and if I'm an employee, valuable if that's all taken away? And you have to start all over again. So a lot of stuff came up. It wasn't easy because all that stuff came up, right away. And I thought about it, and then I realized, okay, like give this some time to play out. Like, let's see what happens instead of like rushing into the next thing and back. And then now I work with a different company that's more aligned. But just one of the biggest things that helped me was the podcast, because I started the podcast like right away, because I knew if I wasted that time that I would be really disappointed, because I had all that free time. I was like, I have to do something. So I just started interviewing people. So I interviewed about 70 people within a span of like about that. During that time, I interviewed 70 people. So
That's
during
good.
so during that time, I had like all this time to ask all these people all these different questions. From like, a lot of these people they left their jobs, or they created this business, or they called off an engagement. Like, I have all these variety of people. So I kind of got to tap into their head and hear about like their moments, and their moments when they lose their job, or when something didn't happen the way they thought it was going to go, or whatever happened. I got to hear about these moments. So it kind of gave me some kind of comfort by hearing all these stories of like, okay, a lot of other people are going through the same thing right now. A lot of other people are going through all this type of uncertainty on their job and where they're going to end up in the next couple of years and all of that. That's the only thing that really helped me, was getting to talk to other people.
I will say that my biggest wake-up call was more when pandemic I had no more job, no more nothing, no more money. And as I'm older, it's not like if I have my mom where to live, I have to still pay all those bills and stuff like that. So it's still quite hard again. I haven't find a lot of work now. Sorry if I look down because my little kittens are there and they're mewing at me right now. They have ADHD and they're distracting me right now. So that was my biggest wake up call. Oops, sorry for that. so yeah, so that was my biggest wake up call, and I was like, I never really had a job. I always been self-employed. I always did website and things like that. I never had really my longest real job was like 3 months for summer. I never really had a long work. So for me, I never felt why it's always changing. Sorry, I don't know why.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry. I don't know why it always click, but I think I know it's because my webcam is a little bit on my keyboard. I took it off. Normally it should not move. So what I was saying is I've always been self-employed. So I always never had a job. I always knew what it is to not have a lot of money, because for me it was normal when you're self-employed. It's normal to not have a lot of money, mainly in something like website and stuff like that. I'm not an investor or anything, so that's for me it was always normal. But I realized how I was screwed when everything stopped. No more contract. I don't have any money on the side. I live day by day by day by day, and I realized it's not exactly what I want to do, and it's annoyed me a lot. And I was like, now I'm still in the situation that you were like at your 20s. Okay, when you start your podcast, I'm still at that moment now. I don't have a lot of work. I don't And I think, what should I do? I have ADHD. I know that's always been a problem to find a real work. That's why I always try to be self-employed, because it was easier for me to be able to work my own shift and stuff like that. I always felt comfortable in this position. I know that a lot of people is the contrary. Be self-employing is out of their comfort zone, but for me, it's in my comfort zone to be self-employed. So I was like, I have ADHD. There's a lot of people that have difficulty to find work. Mental health, some people are scared of that, so they are not going to hire me anyway, and stuff like that. So I feel I was not alone, and when I started LinkedIn, I realized that I was not alone. There was a lot of people talking about those struggles, and I was like, why not starting my show and starting my podcast? My podcast will be more monologue, that I'm going to tell a bit about my story, and podcast. And I mean, my TV show is going to be with people that you're going to be seen in life. So I felt it was more aligned with my values and stuff like that. So now I'm still in the point of thinking I'm going to make money out of this, okay? Because I need to still eat, like everybody else.
Yeah.
I'm still at this point now, but I know that if I continue doing it, maybe will I get sponsored one day, So that was my biggest wake up calls that I can say.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we definitely need them, because I think if we don't have any wake up calls, then we're kind of just stagnant. Like, I think they have to happen, or else I think for me in my life, that's the only thing that's shifted. Like, if everything's easy and everything's just like slow and just like consistent, then I don't change. I don't grow. I don't do anything different. But if something big happens, or something that makes me force me to wake up, then something changes. So I feel like it's been necessary for me, at least, to have those.
It's very painful on the mental health when they happen. Okay, you feel like depressed. You're like, what the heck I'm doing with my life? Why me? Why it's always happening to me? Those bad lucks. And at the same time, it's bad luck, yes, but maybe they are there to teach you some things. So that's how I see it now. But yeah, if you see some of my posts on LinkedIn, I was depressed, and I showed in my post, because I'm not really good at masking. Some people say pretend it before you make it, but I cannot do that. I know that people are easy to pretend they're like so wealthy and stuff like that, but I can't do that. So I always try to be myself and show what I can give them in return, you know?
Yeah.
So after that, I see that you sell house and stuff like that. Can you talk me a little bit more about that? Why did you decide to do that? Is your wake up call tell you to sell house, or you have parent that does it, or why did you choose that?
Yeah, so what happened is I'm gonna have to take you back a little bit, a couple years. So let's go back a couple years. So when I was 19, I had this moment where my bank account was draining. Like all the money was going out, no money was coming in. And my dad goes and he shows me one of his checks. He's a loan officer as well, and he shows me one of his checks. And he's like, "Look, you have to do something because what you're doing is obviously not working. So you should try this, see how it goes, try it for a couple years. And even if you don't like it, at least you'll have money, you'll have some more opportunities, and you can leverage that and go wherever you want to go." And it took him presenting that same opportunity about 3 to 4 times in 3 to 4 different ways before I actually listened. So but I listened when it was getting like so low that I was like, okay, like it's time to listen, obviously. So I started studying for the tests and NMLS test. It took me about 3 times to pass. And if you don't pass on the third, then you have to wait 6 months. So
Oh
I
my.
passed on the third time. I Googled how to pass your NMLS test, and I got targeted by a Facebook ad by this lady who that's all she does is teaches people. I happened to click on the ad, and that was the saving grace for me of finally passing the test, is her course. And she started that course because her mom couldn't pass the test, and she really just wanted to help her mom create a different life for herself. So she helped her mom pass, and then she's like, oh, I wonder if other people need this course. And she's helped thousands of people pass their tests, which is pretty incredible. And it all started just with her mom. So I passed the test and I started working for a company. And then I realized, oh, like this is really cool. I can make a lot of money doing this. And then I just learned about all the different products, how everyone doesn't have the same type of loan. And you can't give the same type of loan to everyone because everyone's different. Some people need a completely different type of loan. So I just started studying and really getting into that, and it's been incredible. In the last 17 months I've done over 200 loans for people. It's been so get to learn about all these different scenarios, all these different products, and all these different people, and getting to help them purchase their first home or investment property or refinance their home. And yeah, so really all just I'm presenting it in 3 to 4 different ways and be like, you got something because this shit is not working. So he had to really just be like honest with me, which I needed. I feel like you obviously need to do something different because if not, you're going to be in the same place 2 to 3 years from now. So, yeah.
Forever. I wish my mom was like that, And she passed her high school diploma when she was like after she got me, because she at 19 she was pregnant, so she had a little bit of more difficulty to show me those wake up calls. She'll do something because of her past, so it was more hard for me. She was like, the only thing she really wanted me to achieve was my high school diploma. After that, she didn't really know how to show me anything else. You were quite lucky, I think, that you had a father that tell you should do that. You to work, you need to do that. I'm sorry, this little guy doesn't want to leave me. Distraction number one.
Oh my gosh,
I
so
see.
cute.
You don't want to leave me alone, right?
So cute.
So did you have difficulty in school? Did you feel that high school, you finished your high school, I guess? Did you have some difficulty learning and things like that? Because you told me you had a little bit difficulty on your exam.
So actually, I got really good grades in high school. So I got my high school diploma. I got really good grades. I didn't really try much in high school, to be honest. I just passed without trying. And what happened, what was so difficult about the test is more like mentally tricking you. Like mentally it could be one answer, it could be the so I think why it was so hard for me is just because I didn't take studying seriously the first 2 times. So I didn't take studying seriously until the third. Kind of thought, okay, in high school I could kind of get away with not studying, so maybe I could get away with not studying for this too, and that was completely wrong. So I had to realize that like, okay, you can't just wait this test, like you have to add anything in your life.
You have to work for it.
Yeah, exactly.
So with the accident and your father telling you that you should do something with your life, what else triggered you to succeed?
I think I've had lucky because I've had pretty great people. So I've had really great people to learn from and that mentored me and just kind of like watched over me and kind of like, hey, do this, or hey, do that, or hey, you know, make it work. Like I've just had like little, like all these people who kind of like watched and seen me and kind of been like, kind of giving me shortcuts because they tell me, okay, this is how you do this is how you do that. And I've just been, I've had really cool mentors. So I think that's really helped me. Another thing that's really helped me is I worked with a personal development coach just on my mindset, because it was a huge shift for me to go from being like in a salaried position to making only commission and dealing with the changes. And like, if you don't close a loan, you don't get paid. So going through those different changes, having a personal development coach to really work with me on my money mindset, because my money mindset was quite terrible. I think that really helped because she really helped me with the scarcity element and all these different things I need to work with when it came to money, and change my story about how I viewed money. So I think she was another really big part.
How do you deal with the anxiety if you don't close a deal in time to pay your rent or something like that? How do you pass from that and just say you need to close, and you don't want to think about your things you need to pay or your personal problem, and you want to close that deal, but you don't want to be too anxious about it. So how do you focus on your goals and get out of that stress?
Well, I think a couple things have helped me. I think one is having a pretty good sized savings account and knowing that I'm okay, even if this deal doesn't close this week, because I have the savings account and I'll be okay, even if it doesn't close, because I have some more time. So I think having my savings account has really helped. I think having, I do a lot of work around like how I view money. I think I used to view money in a very scarce way. And I think that was really hurting me because I view it as like, I didn't see it more abundantly. Now I see it a lot more abundantly. So I see like, I can manifest money in a matter of like, a couple days, and it could come out of nowhere. And I can manifest money in different ways too. It doesn't just have to come from one way. So I think having her work with me on just like, okay, you can be more abundant around money. You don't have to be so scarce around money. And I think when I was too scarce around money, I would end up having money run away from me. So I think just energy kind of pushed money away from my life by being so scarce around it. So I think she has really helped me on that part.
Great. And what do you talk a lot about shit show on your podcast? Can you tell me a little bit of stories about those for the people that don't know your podcast?
Yeah, so a bit of shit shows that happen with my guests, and one of them, one of the episodes that's pretty popular is about this girl who calls off an engagement, like I think it was like the day before or like the week, like really close to when the wedding was supposed to happen, and all the deposits were down, everything was ready to go, their families were intertwined, like their friends were intertwined, like their whole life was together, because when you're with someone for that amount of time, everything just ends up coming together. And hearing her story about that and like how she had like this feeling in her gut that like he's just not the one, like I have to not get married, it's just not the one. And then she actually ended up marrying her husband like a year or 2 years later, and he actually lived down the street, and they ended up getting married. But like hearing all like just, I think a lot of these shit show moments, whether like some of them are like being in a job and that job really the wrong job for you, and then leaving corporate and kind of just leaving and saying, I don't know what's next, but I'm gonna find something out. But yeah, I've had a lot of like, some of them are in career, some of them are in relationships, like toxic relationships. Some of them are like, they're all over the place. Some of them are like business, some of them. But yeah, I really like hearing everyone's shit shows moments because it makes you feel less alone in yours. So I like being able to ask people about theirs and hear what comes up for them.
Yeah, so yeah, it makes you feel a little bit better about yourself when they are very big shit shows, right?
Yeah.
You're like, it's not only me that happened, it happens to somebody else. And it's a little bit bad to say, but you feel a little bit reassured that it's not only you, it happens to other people, it's not only you. So it's reassuring a little bit to see you're not the only, you're not the, oh, I can say that, you're not crazy, you're not alone.
Yeah.
Other people feel the same way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but at the same time, there's shit shows that can, from my experience, that shit shows that can be good shows too,
Yeah.
that can turn around. I can tell you this story when I decided to go. I only have the money to take a 1 round trip in a plane to go to Vancouver, okay? I decided, oh, I don't care. I'm going to find a way to go back somewhere, okay? So I decided to go take that plane to Vancouver. I don't know how I'm going to go back home, okay? I have $200 in my bank account, and I'm like, I want to go anyway. It's paid, So I decided I want to have a new experience. I was like 23, okay, so I was younger in that time, and I was like, I want to do something in my life. I never moved from Quebec, okay. I've been a little bit in the U.S., but I never traveled alone, and I wanted to know what it felt like, and I was totally out of my comfort zone because I never did that, and I was like, too bad, the plane is booked, you need to go. So I take the plane, I go to Vancouver, and I do a lot of couch surfing. Couch surfing is like a website, a little bit like to find some people that want to host you for free. So you go live to their place for some days, and it's totally free because you can do the same when you're back home, So it's like you share the place, So that's pretty cool. So that's what I did. And I was like, I want to leave, after 2 weeks. I'm like, I want to go to the Rocky Mountains. I'm enough of the city now that I visited. So I decided to find a guy. I was like in a guy, and I say, where are you going? So I was like hitchhiking. I want to go to Calgary now. So I did all hitchhiking back to Montreal, and after another week, I got back to Newfoundland, and I came back. So I did like 2 months by hitchhiking all the little province of Canada with like almost no money, but I did it, So yes, it was a shit show in some way because it's very out of my comfort zone to just go away like that. It's not safe at all, okay? Don't do it. But I did anyway. So yeah, so it's always a way to counter the problem and find a solution, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Even if it's a little bit crazy, don't do it if you're. So thank you, Big Chillin, for being here again. I hope you enjoyed the show today, and thank you so much. It's on Twitch, because if you're not on Twitch, everybody, you can follow me on Twitch. Sometimes I do special videos there that are not on LinkedIn or on YouTube. So go on Twitch. It's a nice platform where you can meet great people. So yeah. So do you want to tell me a little bit more about you and how your podcast going now on 2020 when the pandemic hit? How it hit you? Because I guess people didn't want to have house because they lost all their job, right? How did it hit you?
I actually made the most amount of money I've ever made during the pandemic. So not very like, because a lot of people were refinancing. Because a lot of
Yeah, it's
people,
true.
the rate went down. So a lot of people were refinancing. So, and now, right now, a lot of people are purchasing. So it really didn't hit me hard during the pandemic. It was actually pretty great. But it definitely hit me hard when I was furloughed. That's when it hit me hard. But once I started working again, I was fine. But during the furlough, it was not so great. But yeah, so the podcast is going pretty great now. It's kind of crazy. We're gonna hit 10,000 listens in like the next couple months, which is pretty exciting. And I didn't think anyone was gonna listen to it, honestly. Like, I was like, no one's gonna listen to this. Like, who's gonna listen to like everyone's shit show moments and stories about their 20s? Like, who's gonna want to listen to us? But the only reason why I say that is because everyone thinks that no one's going to listen to them, or no one's going to listen to their show, or no one's going to care about their book or whatever. But the truth is, someone's going to listen. Someone's going to resonate. So it's been pretty incredible. And I haven't made any money off of the podcast. And I don't care if I make any money off of the podcast or not, but I do it more for the conversations. I do it because I get these opportunities to talk with people that I've never got the opportunity to talk with before. Because, you ask someone for a podcast interview, it's a lot easier to get someone's time when you ask them for an interview versus when you just ask for their time. If you're able to like benefit them in some way, like they'll talk to you. And then you get to ask any questions you want. So that's the reason why I do it, is just because like I get to have these conversations. I get access to these people that I would have never had access to before. I mean, I've talked with like some pretty incredible people, and I talked with this guy who was actually mentored by Tony Robbins and like all these different people. And it's like so cool to get to like tap into their brains and think about like, how did they think and why are they so successful and what are they thinking differently? And like how they were able to shift those moments in their life. So yeah, I do it more just for the conversations and just getting to ask any questions I want. But yeah.
I have a question. You say that you made a lot of money in the pandemic because people are refinancing their own. But how did you play with empathic? Because those people maybe if they don't refinance, they're going to lose their house. You probably have been in those cases that maybe if they don't get that money, they're going to have to sell, or they're going to be in trouble because they don't have any job anymore or something like that. So how do you play with empathic and stuff like that? How it make you feel to feel the pain of somebody else? That's most of the question I want to ask.
Yeah, it's I've had a couple clients that like you feel the pain of like what they're going through financially. You feel the pain of like all the debts and all the things they're going through emotionally, and not just what's going through their finances, going through emotionally with them, and like struggles in their family or struggles that are going on with them. And it's hard. It's kind of hard because I feel everything. Like, I'm an empath, so I could feel everything. Tell me something and I could feel everything about their scenario. So I just do my best to try and support them. If I could support them, if I can have a conversation with them, if I could find a way to help them, I will. But it's also realizing like having those boundaries too, because if I don't have any boundaries, I feel everything, and I could kind of take people's problems on even though they're not my own. So it's also having boundaries, but also having empathy of whatever they're going through and kind of going through them both. But yeah, it can be hard sometimes.
So how did you deal to take those problems out of you, because I know that when you're at work, but how did you just, when you have a client like they're crying in front of you, or they're just telling their story, how did you just not focus about it and you just say it's their problem when you finish your day, and not feel too rude about yourself because you just don't want to think about it anymore?
No, it's not. I don't know. I think it's balancing the dynamics, because of course you care, of course you want to help, of course you want to do everything that you can to help. But it's also realizing that I can't take on someone else's stress, and I can't take up on someone else's problem and let it affect me, mentally, because it's not my problem to take on mentally, you know? Like it's kind of having a boundary there, even though you want to help, but also having the boundary of you have to take care of yourself at the same time. So I think it's balancing them both between taking care of yourself and helping and realizing that you're doing the best that you can and they're doing their best that they can, and everything is going to end up, you know, how it's supposed to be. Maybe there's something great that's going to come out of it.
I admit this is my biggest problem. That's why I have a lot of problem to work with public, because I put everything on my own self, and I have difficulty to put those boundaries there. And I'm going to, like, if somebody tell me their problem, I will feel it, you know, and I
Yeah.
won't be able to just keep, this is not my problem, but at the same time care about it, you know. This for me is very difficult to just make this work.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah.
So I'm going to play a game with you. If I was at your, if I was at your show right now, if you had 2 questions to ask me right now without preparing anything, what will you ask? Just for fun.
I'm spot right now. What questions would I want to ask you? Oh, what's something that you're learning right now?
I'm learning how to budget. Actually, I'm learning how to care about my money a little bit more and stop stressing about it, because when you stressing about it, you can get anxiety, and PTSD exists with money too. Like I shown on my podcast, I did an episode on that. It's a real thing that exists. And when you have it, because you struggle with money so much time, so much here, and it's very hard to just learn how to deal with it differently, you know. So I'm teaching a lot about it right now, and I'm in university, and I'm going to have a budget. It's not budget, but it's like accountability and stuff like that. So I'm going to learn a lot about that. So yeah. And also I'm learning how to have a little bit more confidence in myself and putting myself out there on a TV show. You know, everybody's going to see me right now, and I have to admit I was very scared of showing my story and telling everybody about how I feel and how my life is. You know, and being honest with myself and being able to share it to others. And it's very hard for me, because yes, I do have a lot of super experience. Like I said, when I cross Canada, hitchhiking was a very amazing experience. At the same time, a little bit scary, but amazing. I was lucky, you know, nothing happens to me and stuff like that. That was a good experience, because I still remember to this day. It's going to be 10 years of that, and yeah.
And let's see. Let's see. What is something you think people don't know about ADHD?
That is something that you cannot change. It's not like anxiety or any other mental illness, you know. It's something that is your brain when you are born with, you know. You're born with ADHD. It's not something that you can develop being in your childhood, like anxiety. Anxiety is something that happens because you have ADHD and is untreated. So they don't know how to manage it, you know. My parents had difficulty to manage my ADHD. They thought I was lazy, then didn't want to listen to them, then I was always punished, you know. But it's not something that I can do about it, because I was born with it. It's like if I was born missing a limb, you know. It's the same thing. You can put a band-aid on it with medicine, you know, and doing sport, but it's still going to be there at the end of the day, because the medicine's going to stop working at the end of the day. You take it in the morning, you take it sometime in the afternoon, depend the medicine that you use, but at the end of the day, you become your true self. It's not go. This is like band-aid. Those help you to concentrate. You know, it's like it's like real drug that you can find on the street. They give children, you know. It's like cocaine and stuff like that. It's something to put your your mind, when you have ADHD, those things going to boost your dopamine because you don't have dopamine, so it's normal. But a normal person like you taking those medicines is going to be like a real drug, you know.
Yeah.
It's heavy stuff they give you, and that's why I decided to not take medicine because of that. And a lot of ADHD people have dependence of alcohol, of marijuana, and other drugs. They're trying to sell healing with that. And I think in the long term, it's not good for your body, for once, because it's like stimulant drugs. And some, if you to take medicine, is okay. Okay, everybody is different. If you think it's better for you, it's okay. I'm not judging anyone that's using medicine. I use medicine for years when I was in high school and stuff like that. I use medicine, but I found that doing sport, self care, reading, and just learning about ADHD and finding some tips like planning accordingly to what you have to do. If you see my planner is big like that, it's very big planner, you know. So for me, I think it's better to just using some tips like that. But for others, they like to use stimulant and they think it's okay, do it. But the problem with stimulant that I've read, I'm not saying, I'm not a doctor, is if you have anxiety and you have to take another medicine, is the opposite. You have to be down, you know. You don't want to stimulate your anxiety, you need to go. So this is why the medicine for me, because I have anxiety too, I think is boosting the anxiety, and it's not for me. But some people it's fine, you know. So that's what I think people don't know about ADHD, something you cannot change. If you have a lot of distraction, like you see my little kitten were there and one jumped on me, I was distracting by the little kitten. It could be any noise, any things around me that can distract me. Like it's like that all the time, you know. That's why working in working in the office, everybody's, you have my office, there's the other office right beside you. How do you want me to work correctly? The other person is talking to the phone when I have to do something else. This doesn't work for me, you know. And sometimes employers doesn't understand that. They said you should be able to do it because everybody does it. And it's the same thing about autism too. There's some autism people that are not going to be able to talk or going to the washroom. And there's autism that are not very different of you and I. It's only they have difficulty with communication and stuff like that. It depends a lot of the there's a isn't of the how it is, you know. It can be very high and can be very low. Like the autistic person does not want you to say they don't look autism. I don't want to be said that I don't look ADHD, because I know my struggle and I know how to mask those symptoms. While it's very hard for me, I have a lot of difficulty to mask it. Actually, that's why I decided to create that show, because I can't. So what did you know about ADHD before being on the show?
I don't know anything. That's why I asked you. I don't know anything about it.
So why did you decide to come on my show? When I asked you, what did I say that make you say, yes, I want to be there, I want to change the world?
Yeah, I always take an opportunity to talk with anyone. So anyone wants to talk, anyone wants to go on live stream, I'm like, yeah, I'll go.
Now, if you have 5 minutes to yourself to talk about what you do, what will you say to the world? If you have 2 to 3 minutes to say something for the end.
Something for that. Can it be anything? Anything, I think?
Can be anything.
Anything. Oops.
It's okay.
This is the issue. Like, I'm trying to balance this phone against this computer, and it's just not doing anything. Okay. I think the thing people would be this. I think it would be I think it would be something along the lines of, actually, I've never gone into this, but let's go into this. So actually 2 months ago, I actually put in a resignation letter to the company I was working with. And I was doing really well with this company. I made quite a good amount with this company. You know, I'm only 20 years old, and to get this corporate job with this company was pretty a big deal. But I felt like in my soul, I wasn't meant to be at that company anymore. And I felt like the alignment and I felt like the ethics of this company was just totally against mine. And it was making me sick to continue to work there. Like my anxiety was flaring up every day. I was like, does it hurt more to stay or does it hurt more to go? And it hurt more to stay there, to go. And it scared the shit out of me. It scared everything out of me because I was like, okay, so you're going to join somewhere else. You're going to start all over again from zero. Are you ready for that? And I started all over again from zero in June. And I joined this really cool brokerage that would have scared the shit out of me to join a year earlier. And I met this really cool guy, and he's my mentor now, and he's really an incredible guy. And the thing is, if I would have never wrote that resignation letter, I would have never got to have this opportunity right now. And even though it was so scary and it freaked everything out of me, and I was like, I don't know how this is going to go, but I'm going to try. It's been incredible, and it's brought all these new people into my life that would have never brought into if I would have never wrote that letter. And that letter scared me so much. Like it took me about 3 weeks to come up with that letter because I was like, Sophia, on paper, everyone's looking at this corporate job and everyone's looking at this girl with no degree and she's making all this money. What is she doing? And I just knew. I was like, Sophia, if you stay here in the next 3 to 5 years, how are you going to feel about that? How are you going to feel that you're in the same place 3 to 5 years with a company that you don't align with? And that scared me more than leaving. So I left. And I'm so glad that I left because I knew if I didn't leave right now, I probably would have never left.
Yeah, it's true. And you were in a time of pandemic too, so I understand. And you may be a little bit stressed because you don't know now there are new variant of the virus. You don't know if you're going to be locked down again, you know. And I know that you can be stressed just to find another job, you know. And yeah, so how do you feel now that you are in another work? Do you find it better for you?
So it's another company. So it's a brokerage. So it's completely different than what I was doing before because now I'm sourcing my own leads. But I feel so much better because I feel so much at ease because I actually I feel like this company is like really cool and like they really understanding and they're really, it's not just about, you know, it's really about you as an individual, not about, it's more focused on you as an individual. Like, how can we help you, not just how can we help the company? And I feel like it's like a different level of care than I was having before. And it feels just like completely different. So I feel like it was worth it, even though it scared me. It was worth it to jump. But yeah.
That's a little bit what I want to promote too when you're hiring somebody that neurodivergent, you know, that focus on the person first and after the company, you know, because that person is going to be able to do the same job that anyone else. You know, my mentally is the same that anyone else, okay? I don't have any problem with that because I have ADHD. It's only the way how I work, you know, how I process information. And if I arrive in a new work and they want you to be able to do the work in 2 hours, it's not going to work, you know. Yes, they're maybe going to make more money if a normal person can do it in 2 hours. But for me, I will be able to do the same job, but maybe it's going to take me a week to be able to understand everything perfectly and being able to do it. Because it's not only about the ADHD, it's also the anxiety because you're a little bit scared. You're going to get fired in the first day because it happened before, you know. You're going to, you're surrounded by new people, new noise, and new environment. So your mind is a little bit on that too, and difficulty to focus on the job right now. So the first day, probably not, I'm not going to learn anything. I'm going to learn maybe the name of somebody and where I have to sit and being able to interact with the people around me, but I'm not going to be able to work and do anything productive for the company that first day, and should be normal. It's the same time when you start university or any other classes. The first day normally they show you a little bit around what's going to happen on your class. Even when I'm in university, they are not going to give you a test the first day. They are not expecting you to know what you need to do. And I think at work it should be the same, because every company, even if you am a graphic designer and I'm working in a graphic designer industry, it's not the same norm. It's not the same how the company works. It's not the same. Even if I know how to do graphic designer, I know how to do my job, but it's not the same. The client are not the same, etc. And it should always be on the person first, and after on the company. Yes, a company needs to make money. Everybody needs to make money. Okay, it's not new. The world we live on is based on money. If you don't have money, you starve. Okay, it's normal. But if the person leaves after a year or before because they don't feel great and they feel sick, mentally sick, and they need to leave, you're not more advanced. You need to find somebody else to do the job. It's not helping anyone. So yeah. So I cannot hear you. Are you still here? Okay, I think your microphone doesn't work anymore. anyway, I cannot hear you, but okay, I don't know. I think it's because your internet's not good. Maybe it's that. I can hear you. Anyway, that was mostly what I wanted to say today, everybody. Thank you, Sophia, for being here. Sorry, there's a little bit technical difficulty again, but it's okay. No worry about that. Please go see the shit show of my 20s on Apple. I think I saw it on Apple podcast, so you can go there. I'm going to put the link in the comment section of Lincoln if you want to see that show. And thank you so much for being here, and I hope to see you soon. Bye, everybody. See you Friday.